Paula P. Works here, and this is One Design, a show in which I talk about various One Piece characters, their designs, and where they could be going in the future of the narrative. Today, continuing our whole Blackbeard theme that we've been going for, we have Burgess, the captain of the first ship, the actual first ship of Blackbeard. Wow. He is the helmsman, and he holds the epithet of the champion. He is 29 years old after the time skip, which means in the pre-time skip when we first meet him, he is 27. Now, what is so interesting about Burgess, because you don't see this too often, he is completely symmetrical when you first meet him in Jaya. Both sides of his design are exactly the same. This is unusual because most characters in One Piece, especially those with a high amount of significance, are very asymmetrical. You see this in Luffy, you see it in Brook, you see it in a lot of characters. However, we don't learn too much about Burgess in the pre-time skip. He seems to be some sort of wrestler, as he is wearing a luchador mask, his lavender hair billowing out of it. He has a big champion's belt, and he's wearing white pants and a black shirt. Sometimes in the anime is depicted as like a dark brown shirt. And then he's always got these black armbands on, which is a very interesting touch. One on each arm. So during the fight between the Blackbeard pirates and Ace, he has a tendency to throw things, as he throws an entire building at Ace, of which he just blows up with his flame fruit powers, right? So that's the interesting thing. What's further more interesting about this is that when we see him in the post-time skip, he's the first Blackbeard pirate that we actually see, and we are introduced to a bit of asymmetry. Because when he is masquerading as Mr. Store, when he enters the Dressrosa Coliseum, his armor is asymmetrical. He's got a whole bunch of armor plating on one arm, where it's not on the other. Which is a really cool outfit, honestly. I love this outfit. When he's a gladiator, it's great. Which then leads us to the tail end of the arc, in which we see his first official, like, regular pirate garb. And this is also the only Blackbeard pirate that I know of that has a sort of personalized Jolly Roger or a personalized symbol, because even though he wasn't one of the Blackbeard pirates that teach free from Impel Down, his second design in Dressrosa is very reminiscent of prison garb, except his tank top has vertical black and white stripes instead of horizontal black and white stripes, which is just really interesting. It's weird. It's weird that he's like this. But yeah, and he's got a little symbol on his chest, which is embroidered into his tank top, which matches the eye holes and the whole decorative leaf symbol that is on his forehead, and it's represented on the symbol on his shirt with his little eye holes. It's very fun, though. It's very fun. I like it a lot. And of course, in the post-time skip, he grows a beard. Now, what's funny about the end part of Dressrosa is that he is the only person, I think, in the narrative so far that has fought two different people with the same fruit. It has come up unsuccessful both times, because he's fought Ace in the pre-time skip, who was the user of the flame fruit. And then after he passes, and after Sabo eats the flame fruit at the sort of tail end of Dressrosa, Burgess fights Sabo and gets half of his face blown off, which is ooh, that boy got cooked. Anyway. Yeah, he got cooked all right. Which then, I guess, somehow leads him to finding the Revolutionary Army's headquarters, which is really weird when you think about it, because Burgess does not seem like a smart man. But from what we see in Dressrosa, which in Dressrosa he has a more like defined moveset, and from what we see after the fact, it's interesting how powerful he is and how deceptively intelligent he may be, which makes me think that there's more to him than meets the eye, which could be why Teach trusts him perhaps above all others, because it has to be some reason why he's the captain of the first ship of the Blackbeard Armada. There has to be some reasoning. Now, in terms of being a helmsman, we don't know anything about that. We've never seen him drive a boat, like, period. Matter of fact, the first time the Blackbeard pirates are shown on a ship, they get capsized, so I don't know. Albeit it's by a rather devastating weather effect known as the knock-up stream, but still, it's just very funny that the technically the first helmsman in the entire franchise of One Piece, gets bodied by the ocean. I find that very funny. But yeah, so after getting lit up by Sabo, we don't see Mr. Burgess again until way after Wano, where the Blackbeard pirates confront the Heart pirates. Here we see that he has been converted into a cyborg, and now he has a very traditional asymmetrical design. His face now is, well, at least half of it is now gold plated, and his mask, I guess, is now permanent, which is kind of sick and very almost Super Sentai villain of him, that he gets this cool golden bit attached to his face, and now he can never technically take the mask off because half of his face is always the mask. So that's interesting, because it was a whole bit about, like, if you're a luchador, getting your mask removed in combat was a mark of dishonor, which he's never had his mask removed, and we've never seen him without a mask. So that's something else to make note of. But yeah, also the funny little forehead design on his mask is now gone because of the whole, I guess, new design he's got now. But yeah, also in the confrontation with the Heart Pirates, we find out that he has the strong fruit. Now, the strong fruit is a very interesting thing to talk about, really, because we don't know necessarily what he can do outside of having super strength, which is a very common ability in a series like One Piece. But in a conversation I had with my co-host Zach on the Rose Skull podcast, what might be the sort of point that Oda is trying to drive home is that in having the strong fruit and what we see in Dressrosa, Burgess can make shockwaves. Because in Dressrosa, that's one of the techniques that he is known for. It's called the Hado elbow, or the wave motion elbow, in which he does a sort of people's elbow-like maneuver, and it sends out a huge shockwave, which is kind of similar to the powers of the tremor fruit. So one can only imagine now, with the ability of the strong fruit, something like that has to be increased like tenfold. You kind of get what I mean? It's incredible. So we have to wait and see. But that could be the point being driven home here. Also, the point of him having his own personal little fight against a flame fruit user, like his Captain Teach had with Ace. So there's a sort of parallel there. Bring it back to Dressrosa for a second. You know who's also in Dressrosa? It's Elisabello II. The reason why Elisabello II may be important is because he has the strongest punch in the world, fabled to be able to knock out a Yonko. So, seeing as how other gladiators watch fights that current gladiators are participating in, as you know, in Dressrosa, during the gladiator matches, they are broken up in 2 blocks. So while you're waiting for your fight to happen, you could wait in the waiting room and watch other fights as they progress. What if Burgess watched Elisabello's fight and was able to copy what he does now with the strong fruit? So imagine the same technique that Elisabello did, multiply perhaps maybe 1,000-fold with the power that Burgess has right now. That's a very interesting thought to have, because I can't see that simply going to waste after such a big deal is made out of it. And something has to be done with that, seeing as how these two characters were in the same arc. But who's to say? It would also be interesting too if Burgess could perform it perfectly, in that he didn't have the excessive time limit that Elisabello has to charge up. He could just fire them off like straight away. But moving forward, if he had to fight somebody from the Straw Hats, I'm going to be honest with you, it's looking like he might fight Jinbei. Because when you look at Jinbei and you look at Burgess, their sort of approaches to fighting are very similar. Even though Burgess is more of a wrestler and Jinbei is more of a karate / jiu-jitsu practitioner, they both throw things. Burgess throws buildings, Jinbei throws water, and then, of course, both of them have the abilities of shockwave creation. Burgess can create shockwaves with his various elbow checks maneuvers, and then Jinbei, using Fishman Karate, can send out a pulse wave that affects the water in opponents' bodies. So that's the similarity there. Also, obviously, both of them are helmsmen on their respective crews. But with that being said, we'll see you in episode 5. Give me your thoughts.